And David put his hand into his scrip, and took a stone, and cast it with a sling, and fetching it about, struck the Philistine Goliath in the forehead. And the stone was fixed in his forehead, and Goliath fell on his face upon the earth. 1 Samuel 17:49. Hello, my name is Charles Adrian O'Connor. I live in New York City in a private housing community known as Peter Cooper Village, Stuyvesant Town. I've lived here my entire life, and I've become aware in recent years that there's a big movement against bullying in this country, and I'm very pleased that that's happening. When I was growing up, I was frequently targeted by bullies, and a couple of years ago, after the anti-bullying movement got underway, I decided to write a book about some of my experiences, both as I felt about the experiences when they were happening to me and looking back with the perspective of an adult, in hopes of helping kids who are being bullied right now, and to help them get a different perspective on the situation and give them ideas about what they can do about bullies. As I'm going to read part of the book now, and then if it seems like it's being enjoyed by people, I might read other parts of the book later in later videos. You're being bullied. Does the prospect of going to school or leaving your house fill you with dread? Perhaps you come home from school feeling depressed. Do you try to avoid kids who are being unpleasant? Do you ever go home and just cry? Do you ever wonder why some people go around bothering other people? Perhaps you have complained to somebody in authority about it, your mother and father, teachers, some school administrator or counselor. Has this helped? Have you ever contemplated hurting somebody, or worse? Have you ever thought about hurting yourself, or worse? I certainly hope you've never done either of those things. As an adult who was bullied as a child, I can tell you two important things from experience. First of all, you have loads of company. Second, it has eaten at me ever since I was in school that I did not handle my bullying problems better, and for that matter, neither did my parents. I have written a book about this subject. One skill I advise you to learn is the skill of observation. Police officers depend on this very heavily in their line of work. You can begin this practice by coming out of yourself. Break out of your shell. I have to constantly remind myself to do this. Appearing to be in your own world and inattentive is an engraved invitation to trouble when you are out there in the world. Zoning out and daydreaming are important to our mental health. Many people have gotten great ideas while they were daydreaming. But save these practices for when you are at home, or at least in some kind of safe place. Observe how members of your family interact at different times, under different circumstances. You may observe the same person in two or more different situations, and you might think you have watched two or more different people. Observe how the same person interacts with you under different circumstances. For example, observe a normal time at home with your parents. Then observe a time over the holidays, maybe when you all get together with relatives. Compare how you and your parents behave in different situations. I have observed all my life that family members almost always embarrass each other in front of outsiders, whether that outsider might be a new friend or a relative seen only a couple of times a year, like an aunt, uncle, or cousin you might only see a few times every year. When you have some spare time, observe other people when they interact. Watch their body language. If you can, observe their body language and facial expressions from a distance, and observe which kids hang out together. If you cannot move a distance away from them, then, within reason, discreetly listen to the conversation. Watch the other kids. Look at the expressions on their faces. Try to do this without them being aware that you are observing them. See if there is a safe place at school, or at a popular kids hangout, where you could go and where you could observe the other kids, without being observed yourself. If people know they're being observed or watched, they tend to change their behavior. They may show something that is not real to make a better impression, or hide something that could create a bad impression. Look at how they dress, where they go, where they hang out, whom they hang out with. When you observe behavior, especially if you were in some kind of unpleasant encounter, perhaps you could take some other things into account. What time of day is it? I found that around lunchtime and at the end of the day were bad times. What time of the week is it? In my schools, Friday afternoons were very bad because at the end of the week a lot of tensions came out. What time of the month is it? Have you ever heard someone say, is there a full moon out right now? The moon actually does have an effect on human behavior. It is not a coincidence that the word lunatic, which means somebody who behaves in an aberrant manner, has the root luna, which is a Latin word for moon. A full moon occurs for a couple of days every month. Police departments put more officers on duty during the full moon period each month. The lunar cycle has been proven to have an effect on human behavior. The next time there is a lunar or solar eclipse, observe animals if you can. They react fairly strongly to eclipses. What time of the year is it? Springtime was bad as the year wound down. Tensions, worry about final grades, report cards if we were graduating, what school we were going to, etc. If some event, a big exam, for example, or a school play or sporting event, or the holiday season or summer vacation approaching, where is the behavior occurring? At school, in the gym, the locker room, a bathroom, the cafeteria, out in the neighborhood, the kids hang out, playground, a sporting event. Sometimes when you might be free to observe people, going to school on the bus if you take the bus to school, in the schoolyard when kids are arriving for school and socializing, during lunch in the cafeteria, when changing classes and walking in your school's corridors, at an after-school hangout, a pizzeria, a mall, a skate park, a playground, on public transportation, an athletic event, at a party or a get-together. You could also watch adults interact. Watch their general bearing, attitude, facial expressions, body language, their dress. Pick somebody and try to observe them when they are not actually speaking or interacting with anyone in the immediate area at that moment. You might try to find them when they are on their way to school or on their way home. Take a look at the expression on their face, again, when they're not actually interacting with anyone, if you can see them. This could tell you quite a bit about them. The very first line of self-defense is neither a boxing move nor a karate chop, nor pepper spray. It's more internal than that. Try to always be alert to your surroundings. Know what is going on around you and who is around you. What are they doing? Who are they with? What are they wearing? How are they acting? Another common reason for being targeted by a bully, being the new kid. New kids often get picked on by a bully as soon as the recess bell rings on the first day. The new kid is frequently a bit timid and nervous. They haven't made friends yet. Sometimes they look like they're lost, and probably they are. If it's their first day in the school building, they're going to get lost. If you are a parent reading this and there is a move in your future, I urge you to get your child into some kind of self-defense training and take a day and go and look over the new school. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that you may not want to learn, but the earlier in your life you learn this, the better. Before you look at your bully, look in the mirror. Yes, that's right. After all, you are in the situation, so you might be a cause of the situation. Take an honest look at yourself and try to learn whether something on your end could be causing the problem, or at least a partial cause of the problem. Go and literally look in a mirror. That might actually help. There are two ways you might be a cause of the problem. You could be an active cause of the problem, or you could be a passive cause of the problem. How might you be an active cause of the problem? Learn whether you are doing something that is needlessly annoying to the kid you have a problem with. You could think about it or ask them. If you learn you are in fact doing something that is bothering them, see what you can do to change that behavior. How might you be a passive cause of the problem? Again, take a good, hard look at yourself and be honest. It is possible that you could be presenting yourself, unwittingly of course, in such a way as to invite bullying. Some signals, usually sent unwittingly, are very similar to having a sign attached to you which reads, "Pick on me." Are you introverted or shy? Are you a loner? Do you avoid contact with other people, especially other kids? Do you have any friends? When you communicate with other people, do you make eye contact? How much do you communicate with other people? Check out your body language. Check out the way you dress. Think about when you speak to people. How do you come across? Try to see yourself as others see you. Try to step into your bully's shoes, or the shoes of anyone else you may interact with. What do you think they see or sense in you? One more thing about inviting mistreatment. Is your report card mostly your all A's? From the time that there have been schools, being the smart kid in the class has not gone over well with a lot of one's peers. Avoidance. Perhaps there are certain places of your school or your neighborhood which you could try to avoid. For example, be careful about the bathrooms, the locker rooms, the showers, the cafeteria. Many bullying incidents take place when there are no adults right in the vicinity. Kids are taught about fire safety, swimming safety, traffic safety, dangers of talking to strangers, etc. What about anti-bullying measures? If someone starts with you, the only one you know that will be there is you. Your family, friends, and neighbors may not be there to have your back. Teachers, principals, assistant principals, deans, and safety officers simply cannot be everywhere. And bullies and other troublemakers focus themselves on finding openings when adults aren't around. Perhaps you could get friends together to help you discourage the bully. Perhaps you could get some witnesses in case something happens. Do you fantasize about getting even with your tormentor? Do you want to be someone that nobody would dare mess with? I can assure you that that won't happen overnight. You could set that as a long-term goal for yourself, but start out by setting smaller, short-term goals for yourself, like admitting that you were the target of bullies, not pretending to be sick so you don't have to go to school and face someone you'd rather not face, not taking a longer, inconvenient way to reach your destination in order to avoid someone, learning more about yourself and how you relate to others. You could approach dealing with bullies the way you approach learning a new subject. Overview, study, lesson, homework, discipline, learning new skills, like in self-defense or in communicating with others and building these skills. Take a good look at yourself and ask, what can I do to get more assertive? Communication. Talk with your friends, or you can even sit down alone somewhere and talk to yourself. I've tried this and it helps, crazy as it sounds. It's supposed to be a sign of genius, talking to yourself. Look at the facts of the situation, size up what is going on, think about why it is going on, and think what you can do about it. If you think you can, safely, and if you feel up to it, you could approach the bully, or if you were having trouble with several kids, the apparent leader of the group you were having trouble with, and speak to them. For starters, if you were confronted by a bully, or if you should decide to approach your bully to try to straighten things out, try to keep a substantial physical distance between yourself and them. Try to stand at least far enough away from them that if each of you extended your arms out, your fingers would not touch, even if you both reached out your arms very far. This will lessen the chance that the other kid will feel threatened. Also, if the other kid should decide to lunge for you, you will see it coming better. If you decide to try to communicate with your bully, you might try at least having a friend around to lend moral support, an extra pair of hands, or who might alert someone in authority in case the situation escalates into a physical confrontation. You can pick a calm time when you can find your bully alone, when they don't have everyone around to impress. Be forewarned, however, they may ridicule you, if not then and there, then later. But people have always done this, they always will. It's better for you if you learn that now. Perhaps you could ask an adult in authority to have everyone concerned sit down together. You, your bully, teachers, parents, principal, dean, safety officers, witnesses, etc. You could start by asking the kid, am I doing something to bother you? And if yes, what can I do to stop it? This is certainly better than to start by snitching. Another helpful element relied upon for centuries by military in battle is the element of surprise. Did you ever sneak up on a sibling or friend and yell, boo? You got quite a kick out of scaring them, didn't you? Or you and your parents could go visit the bully at home and try to sort things out. But be aware that there are risks involved in this approach. Parents, please don't send your child to their bully's home unescorted. You don't know who is in that house, and you don't know what firearms might be in that house, and many people own guns, as we've learned a lot about very recently. There is also the issue of entering onto someone else's private property. And if you want your child to face up to bullies, you might want to set an example. Take a look at yourself. How do you handle bullying situations, if they have ever arisen? I want to be the people who say stuff like, you need to stand up to bullies. They'll look back right down. You need to stand up for yourself. Don't be a coward. You let people walk all over you. You need to be more assertive. Grow a spine. A boy may be told, no offense if you're a girl, grow a pair. That bully is going to push you until you push back. However, I will grant that this adage is very frequently true. People who utter the above phrase make standing up to bullies sound so easy. If it were that easy, bullying would not happen, or happen less frequently. It's always easy to figure out someone else's problems. My own father used to berate me and a few times my siblings for not standing up to bullies. Years later, I learned that he could have taken his own advice. He was no tough guy himself. Suppose you took 100 different schools. Suppose that in each of those 100 schools there was one kid who was a bully, and one kid who was a target or a victim of that bully. And you pulled out the bullies and their victims and put the 100 bullies in their school and made another school for the 100 victims. Do you know what would happen? In the bully school, victims would eventually emerge. In the victim school, bullies would emerge. A pecking order would be established. My maternal aunt was a school teacher. She read studies in education as part of her work. She learned of an experiment where a state's education department pulled ruffians and troublemakers out of a whole bunch of schools. The schools selected were all in the same state, yet they were far enough apart to make it unlikely that any of these troublesome kids knew each other. The state placed them in one school. All these troublesome students found each other in just a couple of weeks, and of course they bonded together and focused themselves on causing trouble.